You should be grateful I let you stay home all day, Simon said, not looking up from his phone as he lounged on our Italian leather sofa. Most wives would kill for this lifestyle. I gripped my coffee mug tighter, the ceramic warm against my trembling fingers. After 5 years of marriage, his dismissive tone still had the power to make my stomach clench. My name is Samantha, and I'm the invisible wife of the brilliant Simon Harding. I was thinking of doing some consulting work again, I ventured, keeping my voice steady. Just part-time. The marketing industry has changed so much, and Really, Sam? He finally looked up, his handsome face twisted in that condescending smirk I'd grown to hate. You haven't worked in, 4 years? The industry's moved on. Besides, what would you even do with the money? I bit back the truth, that I'd been working remotely for the past 2 years, building an international client base under my maiden name. Instead, I smiled weakly and sipped my coffee. I just miss it sometimes. The challenge? He laughed, standing up to straighten his designer tie in the mirror. Honey, your biggest challenge is deciding which yoga class to take. Remember how stressed you were at your old job? I did you a favor. The memory of my resignation flashed through my mind. I'd been up for promotion at one of the top marketing firms in Boston. Simon had spent months telling me how exhausted I looked, how the pressure was changing me, how we could easily live on his income alone. He'd worn me down until I believed him. Speaking of favors, he continued, checking his Rolex, I need you to cancel your lunch with Alea today. The Jacobsons are in town, and I told them we'd do lunch at the club. I can't cancel on Alea again, I protested. This is the 3rd time. Sam. His voice carried that warning tone. The Jacobsons are potential investors. This is important. My phone buzzed. A notification from my secret email account. Tokyo proposal approved. Contract attached. Fine, I said quietly. I'll reschedule with Alea. Simon grabbed his briefcase, dropped a perfunctory kiss on my cheek. That's my girl. Oh, and wear that blue dress I bought you. The Jacobsons are traditional. They appreciate a wife who makes an effort. After he left, I waited exactly 17 minutes before racing upstairs to my home office, the room Simon called my hobby space. Behind a false panel in my desk drawer, I pulled out an old notebook. Inside were my first business plans, written 2 years ago when I realized I couldn't live like this forever. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Alea. Girl, don't you dare cancel on me. I have tea to spill. I hesitated, then typed, Actually, can you meet me at your office instead? I need legal advice. Her response was immediate. Finally, 11 a.m., bring all your documents. I opened my laptop, logged out of the shared email account Simon occasionally checked, and pulled up my private email. The Tokyo contract would push my consulting income over 7 figures this year. My husband thought I spent my days at yoga classes and charity luncheons. He had no idea I was building my escape, one international client at a time. My phone lit up with a text from Simon. Wear heels too, and do something with your hair. Looking forward to showing off my trophy wife. I opened my notebook to a fresh page and wrote the date. Below it, I added 2 words. I'm done. The house phone rang, probably Simon's mother calling to remind me about some country club function. I let it go to voicemail, instead opening my encrypted folder of documents. Photos of Simon with his not-so-secret girlfriend, bank statements showing suspicious transfers, tax documents with questionable deductions, another text from Alea. Bring your grandmother's inheritance paperwork too. Trust me. I touched the diamond tennis bracelet on my wrist. The last birthday gift my grandmother gave me before she passed. Never let anyone make you feel small, she'd said, especially not a man. Looking around our perfect house, with its perfect furniture and suffocating perfection, I felt something shift inside me. The fear was still there, but now it was hardening into something else, something stronger. I opened my secret email and began typing, Dear Mr. Tanaka, thank you for the Tokyo contract. I look forward to exceeding your expectations. Best regards, Samantha Mills. My maiden name looked beautiful on the screen. Soon, it would be my only name again. First, though, I had a lunch to attend. I'd wear the blue dress, I'd style my hair, I'd smile and play the trophy wife one last time. But while Simon showed me off to the Jacobsons, I'd be planning his downfall. Your grandmother left you how much? Alea's eyes widened as she studied the inheritance documents spread across her desk. Just under $500,000, I said, watching her face carefully. Simon never knew the exact amount. He assumed it was pocket change. And now? She leaned forward, perfectly manicured nails tapping the polished wood. I pulled up my private banking app. Alea's jaw dropped at the number on the screen. 4,187,952.14. Holy shit, Sam. She sat back in her chair. How? Remember Cyrus, the accountant who helped with Grandma's estate? I smiled, remembering our first secretive meeting. He saw potential in me when everyone else saw a trophy wife. We started small, careful investments, remote consulting jobs. Every time Simon was working late with his mistress, I was on video calls with clients in Tokyo, London, Dubai. Speaking of the mistress, Alea pulled out her phone, showing me an Instagram post. There was Simon, arm around a young blonde at some rooftop bar. The caption read, "Business dinner with the genius behind Harding Tech. Blessed as I'm your entrepreneur." That's Poppy, I said flatly. She's been his side project for at least 8 months. And you're documenting everything? I nodded, pulling out my own phone. Times, dates, locations, plus screenshots of every suspicious bank transfer he's made trying to hide money from me. Alea's office phone buzzed. Your husband is here to see you, her assistant announced. Simon? I felt my pulse quicken. No, Alea smirked. Mine. Perfect timing. He's got something you need to see. Marcus, Alea's husband and a financial investigator, strode in carrying a thick folder. Sorry I'm late. Had to double-check these numbers. He spread several documents across the desk. Simon's company isn't just struggling, it's hemorrhaging money. He's been cooking the books for months. That explains the refinance application on your house, Alea added. He's trying to access equity before everything falls apart. My phone chimed with a calendar reminder. Anniversary dinner, 7 p.m. Shit, I muttered. I have to go home and change. Simon's taking me to La Maison to celebrate 7 years of his magnificent generosity. Wait, Marcus held up a paper. Before you go, you need to see this. Simon used your power of attorney to move some investments last week. The signature, it's not yours. I stared at the document, my hands shaking. I never signed this. No, Alea said grimly. He forged it. This is getting serious, Sam. My phone buzzed again. A text from Simon. We're the diamonds I bought you last Christmas. The restaurant owner's wife will be there. Need to maintain appearances. I have to go, I said, gathering my papers. But first, I pulled out my grandmother's letter, the one that came with the inheritance. I want this on record. She specifically left this money to me, not to the marriage. As Alea made copies, I thought about tonight's dinner. Simon would order expensive wine, brag about his latest deals, and remind me how lucky I was that he saved me from my career. One more thing, Marcus called as I reached the door. Your Tokyo client? They're looking to expand their U.S. presence. The contract could be worth millions. I smiled, thinking of the proposal I'd sent last night while Simon watched sports downstairs. I know, the meeting's next week. I'm calling in from my spa weekend. Sam, Alea caught my arm. Be careful. Men like Simon, they don't handle losing control well. I know, I said softly. That's why I've spent 2 years making sure he never suspected he was losing it. Driving home, I passed the country club where Simon played golf every Saturday, his networking time. Last week, I'd watched from my car as he and Poppy slipped into her Range Rover after his supposed client meeting. My phone rang. Simon again. Hey, beautiful, don't forget we're celebrating tonight. 7 years of perfect marriage. Wouldn't forget, I replied, my voice honey-sweet. I'm wearing the diamonds. That's my girl. Oh, and clear your calendar for next weekend. Taking some investors to the lake house. I smiled at his slip. Of course, honey, whatever you need. Pulling into our driveway, I touched my grandmother's bracelet again. Tonight, I'd play my part. I'd smile at Simon's jokes, laugh at his stories, and pretend I didn't know about the forged documents, or the mistress or the failing company. But next week, while he was at the lake house with Poppy, I'd be closing the biggest deal of my career. And soon, very soon, Simon would learn what it felt like to be the invisible one. My phone lit up with an email notification. Final contract revisions, Tokyo deal. Perfect timing. I had just enough time to review it before playing trophy wife one last time. Someone's been talking to TechCrunch. Simon stormed into the kitchen, his face red with rage. They're running a piece on the company's financials tomorrow. I looked up from my tea, carefully maintaining a neutral expression. That sounds serious. What are they saying? Nothing true, he snapped, loosening his tie. Just speculation about our Q3 losses and some nonsense about shell companies. He grabbed the whiskey from the cabinet. I need you to transfer the Aspen property into your name, just temporarily. I can't, I said softly. I have yoga. He slammed the glass down. This isn't a joke, Sam. I'm trying to protect our assets. Our assets? I raised an eyebrow. I thought they were your assets. Isn't that what you told my mother at Christmas? The doorbell rang before he could respond. Simon's younger brother, Max, stood on our doorstep looking grim. We need to talk, Max said, brushing past Simon. All of us. I poured more tea while the brothers settled at our kitchen island. Max pulled out his tablet, pulling up financial documents. Want to explain why Mom and Dad's retirement account is suddenly empty? Max's voice was cold. Or why their names are on loan documents for your Singapore venture. Simon's face paled slightly. It's complicated. Business stuff you wouldn't understand. Try me, Max challenged, because it looks like you've been using our parents' credentials to secure loans for your failing companies. I watched silently as Simon attempted to explain away his actions. The same smooth talking that had convinced me to quit my job years ago now sounded hollow and desperate. Sam, Max turned to me suddenly. Did you know about any of this? How could she? Simon laughed harshly. She doesn't understand finance. She's barely managed a checkbook since we got married. I sipped my tea, thinking about the offshore accounts I'd established with Cyrus's help, the investment portfolio that had tripled in value last quarter, and the anonymous tip I'd sent to TechCrunch 3 days ago. You're not innocent in this either, Max said to me. You must have suspected something. My phone buzzed. An email from Cyrus marked urgent. I opened it under the counter. Wire transfer from Tokyo confirmed. 2.1 hours cleared. Congratulations. I'm just the wife, I said quietly. Simon handles everything. Simon's phone rang. His lawyer, Peter. As he stepped out to take the call, Max leaned closer to me. Sam, if you know anything, now's the time to tell me. Mom and Dad could lose everything. I pulled out my laptop. Check your email in 2 minutes. And Max, make sure your parents see it too. Simon's voice rose from the other room. What do you mean they have proof? Those documents were destroyed. I hit send on an email containing copies of every fraudulent document Simon had created over the past year, including the forged power of attorney. Max's phone pinged. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the attachments. How long have you known? He whispered. Long enough, I replied. And there's more, much more. Simon stormed back in. We need to talk strategy. Max, you need to convince Mom and Dad to sign some papers. No. Max stood up. No more papers. No more lies. He looked at me. You should be careful, Sam. He's not who we thought he was. After Max left, Simon paced the kitchen. This is fixable. I just need time and money. He stopped suddenly, looking at me. Your inheritance. How much exactly did your grandmother leave you? I smiled, remembering the look on his face years ago when he dismissed it as pocket change. She left me enough, I said, standing up, but not for you. What's that supposed to mean? My phone recorded his next words clearly. Listen, you ungrateful little parasite. Everything you have is because of me. You can leave, but I'll make sure you regret it. You'll have nothing. I let the threat hang in the air as I gathered my things. I have a headache. I'm going to lie down. Upstairs in my office, I forwarded the recording to Alea. Then I opened my email to find 4 new client proposals waiting. My empire was growing while his crumbled. Another text from Max. Mom's crying. Dad's talking about pressing charges. What do we do? I thought about Simon downstairs, probably plotting his next move, believing he still held all the cards. I thought about Poppy, who would soon learn her sugar daddy was broke. I thought about all the years I'd played small to make him feel big. Tell them to wait, I typed back. The TechCrunch article is just the beginning. My grandmother's bracelet caught the light as I opened my laptop to review the Tokyo contracts. Never let anyone make you feel small, she'd said. Oh, Grandma, if only you could see me now. $50,000, Simon's lawyer stated, sliding the paper across the conference table. Plus the car. Mr. Harding feels this is more than generous given the circumstances. I sat perfectly still, wearing the blue dress Simon had always loved, my grandmother's bracelet glinting under the fluorescent lights. Alea, beside me, didn't bother hiding her smirk. Generous, I repeated softly. That's an interesting word choice. Come on, Sam. Simon leaned forward, all casual confidence. Be reasonable. You haven't worked in years. What else could you possibly need? Alea opened her briefcase. Before we discuss numbers, we have some concerns about recent financial activities. She passed copies of documents around the table. Specifically, these transferred assets and interesting power of attorney signatures. Simon's lawyer, Peter, frowned as he reviewed the papers. These allegations are baseless. Mrs. Harding has always been aware of... Actually, I interrupted, I haven't been aware, just like I wasn't aware of the vacation in Bali last month. Simon's face tightened. What vacation? I pulled out my phone, opening Instagram. The one where Poppy tagged you at the Four Seasons. Business trip with my love, Staro blessed entrepreneur. Very subtle. Social media posts prove nothing, Peter interjected quickly. Hotel receipts do, Alea countered, producing more documents, as do the photos from hotel security. Interesting timing, considering this was the same week Mr. Harding claimed he couldn't make the mortgage payment. My phone buzzed. A news alert. I smiled, knowing what it would be. Simon's phone chimed seconds later. His face went white as he read the screen. Tech CEO's double life exposed, I read aloud from my phone. Sources reveal pattern of fraud and infidelity. They even used a nice photo of you and Poppy at that rooftop bar. You vindictive bitch, Simon hissed. You're trying to destroy me. No, I corrected him calmly. You did that yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows. Peter whispered something urgently to Simon, who shook his head violently. We need to adjourn, Peter announced. These new developments require consultation. Of course, Alea smiled. We'll wait while you read the article. Pay special attention to the part about the misappropriated investor funds. The SEC certainly will. As they huddled in the corner, my phone lit up with the messages. First from Max. Holy shit, Sam. Dad's calling his lawyer. Then from Evelyn, my mother. Is it true? All of it? Mrs. Harding, Peter returned, looking considerably less confident. Perhaps we could discuss a more equitable arrangement. It's Miss Mills now, I corrected him. And yes, let's discuss equity. I nodded to Alea, who produced another stack of papers. My client's terms are simple, she stated. Full financial disclosure, division of all legitimate assets, and her name removed from any fraudulent documents. Otherwise, we go public with everything. Simon slammed his hand on the table. This is blackmail. No, I said quietly. This is consequences. My phone buzzed again, Poppy's name appearing on the screen. I declined the call with a smile. You think this is funny? Simon demanded. You think you can just blow up my life? Our life, I corrected him. The one where you made me feel worthless, where you hid money, forged documents, and flaunted your affairs. That life is over. Peter was frantically reviewing papers. Mr. Harding, we should consider— She's bluffing, Simon interrupted. She has nothing. I opened my laptop, turning it to face them. Actually, I have everything. Bank statements, forged signatures, photos, emails. Even that interesting conversation with your investors last week about moving assets offshore. Amazing what people say when they think the cleaning staff isn't listening. Simon's face contorted. You had me followed? No need, I smiled. Poppy's Instagram stories did all the work. She really loves documenting your business meetings. Alea slid a final document across the table. Your choice, gentlemen. Sign the agreement, or we walk out that door and release everything to the press. The real press, not just social media. My phone lit up with another news alert. Breaking. Major clients cut ties with Harding Tech amid scandal. Simon stared at his own phone, watching his carefully constructed world crumble in real time. His hands shook as he reached for the papers. I'll destroy you, he whispered as he signed. You can't, I replied softly, standing up. I'm not the same woman who quit her job for you. I'm not the trophy wife anymore. As we left the conference room, Alea squeezed my arm. You okay? I touched my grandmother's bracelet, thinking of her words about never feeling small. I'm perfect, I answered, walking tall in the heels Simon had bought me, wearing the blue dress he loved, carrying the evidence that would end him. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Cyrus. Tokyo deal officially closed. You're now worth more than he ever was. I deleted the message without responding. Some victories are best celebrated in silence. You've ruined everything! Evelyn's voice cracked through my phone speaker. How could you do this to our family? I stood in my kitchen, watching through the window as another executive's car pulled out of Simon's company parking lot. Third resignation this week. I didn't ruin anything, I replied calmly. But since you're concerned about family, maybe ask your son-in-law what happened to your retirement fund. Silence on the line. What about our retirement fund? Check your statements, Mom. All of them. Then call me back. I hung up as Cyrus walked in, carrying his familiar leather briefcase. Ready to rehearse the financial presentation? Wait. I held up my hand as my phone buzzed with a text from Max. Dad found the empty accounts. He's having a heart attack. Not literally, but close. Your timing is impeccable, Cyrus noted, setting up his laptop. The market's already responding to Simon's scandal. His company's shares dropped 40% since opening. My phone rang again. Simon's number. I let it go to voicemail. You're sabotaging me, his message played out loud. The board is meeting tomorrow. My own investors are turning against me. I hope you're happy, you vindictive. I deleted the message before it finished. Let's focus on the presentation. Cyrus pulled up a spreadsheet. Your international holdings are solid. The Tokyo deal alone puts you in a different league. But there's something else you should see. He handed me a manila envelope. Inside were photos, dozens of them. Simon and Poppy together, dating back 3 years. My hands trembled as I found one from a beach resort, dated during my pregnancy scare. Where did these come from? Anonymous package, Cyrus said quietly. delivered to my office this morning. My phone lit up with a text from Alea. SOS. Simon tried accessing your old investment account, used a power of attorney from 2019. One problem. You were in Tokyo that day. I have proof. He's getting sloppy, I murmured, forwarding the message to our legal team. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Poppy standing there, mascara streaked down her face. Please, she said. I need to explain. I almost shut the door, but curiosity won. 5 minutes. She perched awkwardly on the edge of my expensive sofa. Simon told me you were separated, that you were just keeping up appearances for his business. For 3 years, I raised an eyebrow. I was stupid, she whispered, but you should know, he's planning something. He was on the phone all morning with some offshore accounts. Said something about moving everything before the mediation. My phone buzzed again. Evelyn. The accounts are empty. Everything's gone. Your father is meeting with lawyers right now. Karma works fast these days, I said to no one in particular. Poppy stood up. I'm sorry for everything. I thought he loved me. He loves himself, I replied. The rest of us are just accessories. After she left, Cyrus resumed our preparation. The mediation team needs to see every transaction. Your whole empire, built while he was busy destroying his. My phone chimed with another news alert. Harding. Tech board calls emergency meeting amid fraud allegations. Speaking of destruction, Cyrus nodded at my phone. Your timing with that anonymous tip to the financial regulators was perfect. I learned from the best, I smiled, touching my grandmother's bracelet. She always said timing was everything. A final text came through, from Max. Found something in Dad's old files. Looks like Simon used your trust fund as collateral for a loan last year. That's illegal, right? Send everything to Alea, I typed back. And Max, thank you for choosing truth over loyalty. Cyrus packed up his briefcase. Tomorrow's mediation will be interesting. Are you ready? I looked around the house Simon had chosen. Filled with the furniture Simon had selected, decorated to Simon's taste. Soon it would all be gone, sold to cover his debts and legal fees. More than ready, I answered. By the way, how's the new women's investment group doing? 20 members already, he smiled, all looking to do exactly what you did, build something quietly while their husbands underestimate them. My phone lit up one last time. A photo from Simon, showing us on our wedding day. His message read, "Remember when you loved me? When you were grateful? We can fix this." I deleted it without responding, then opened my laptop to check the Tokyo Stock Exchange. My investments there had just hit an all-time high. Cyrus, I said quietly, make sure the mediation team has those pregnancy scare-dated photos of Simon and Poppy. Some things shouldn't stay buried. He nodded, understanding perfectly. Tomorrow would be about more than money. It would be about truth, consequences, and the price of underestimating a woman with nothing left to lose. The mediation room felt smaller than I remembered. Simon sat across the table, surrounded by 3 lawyers, his usual swagger replaced by dark circles under his eyes and a slightly rumpled suit. Let's begin, the mediator said, nodding to Peter. Simon's lawyer cleared his throat. Despite recent complications, my client is prepared to be generous. We're offering Mrs. Harding a settlement of $75,000, the Mercedes, and 3 months of continued health insurance. I remained silent, watching Simon's confident smirk return. He actually thought this was going to work. Additionally, Peter continued, given Mrs. Harding's years of homemaking, we'll include a monthly stipend of $2,000 for 1 year to help her transition. Alea raised her hand slightly. Before we respond, we'd like to call Mr. Joseph to present some financial documentation. Cyrus stepped forward, connecting his laptop to the room's projector. Simon's smirk faltered. Good morning, Cyrus began, pulling up the first spreadsheet. Let's start with the actual numbers, shall we? For the next 30 minutes, Cyrus methodically demolished Simon's financial facade. Screenshots of international wire transfers, consulting contracts, investment portfolios, all in my name, all legitimate, all built while Simon thought I was taking cooking classes and attending charity luncheons. As you can see, Cyrus concluded, Ms. Mill's personal net worth currently stands at just over $6.2 million, not including pending contracts or real estate holdings. Simon's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. "This is impossible," he sputtered. "She doesn't even know how to—" "Tokyo," I interrupted quietly. "Remember all those spa weekends? I was closing deals. Dubai? Those yoga retreats? Meeting with investors? London? Well, you were too busy with Poppy to notice I was gone an extra day." "Speaking of notice," Alea stepped in, "let's discuss the fraudulent documents." She distributed folders to everyone present. "Pay special attention to the power of attorney signatures. The dates are particularly interesting." Peter frantically flipped through the pages. "We need to confer with our client." "No," Simon snapped. "This is ridiculous. She's nothing without me. I made her. Actually," I pulled out my phone, "you might want to check your company's stock price before continuing that thought." The mediator cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should take a brief recess." "Wait," I said firmly. "There's more." I nodded to Cyrus, who pulled up another document. "This is a record of every fraudulent transaction Simon made using my family's accounts, including," I looked directly at Simon, "the money he stole from my dying grandmother's medical fund." The room fell silent. Even Peter looked shocked. "You remember her, right?" I continued, touching my bracelet. "The woman who told you at our wedding that if you ever hurt me, she'd haunt you from beyond the grave? Well, surprise." Simon's newest lawyer whispered something urgent in his ear. He shook his head violently. "And finally," Alea stood, distributing one last set of documents, "evidence of tax evasion spanning the last 4 years. The IRS is particularly interested in these offshore accounts." "We need to adjourn," Peter announced, his voice strained. "Immediately." "Why?" I asked innocently. "Is it because the SEC investigator is meeting with your board in—" I checked my watch. "Exactly 45 minutes?" Simon lunged across the table. "You calculating, bitch? You've destroyed everything." 2 security guards appeared instantly, restraining him as he continued to shout. "No, Simon." I stood calmly, gathering my papers. "You destroyed everything. I just kept receipts." As Simon was escorted out, still ranting, Peter approached us. "Perhaps we could discuss a more equitable arrangement." "Of course," Alea smiled. "We have terms prepared. Though given the criminal implications of those forged documents, you might want to discuss plea bargains first." My phone buzzed. A text from Max. "Dad's lawyer called. They're filing charges against Simon. Mom's finally seeing the truth." The mediator called for a brief recess. In the hallway, Cyrus touched my arm. "You did it. Everything we planned, every detail. Perfect execution." "Not everything," I replied, watching Simon argue with his lawyers through the conference room window. "I never planned to feel this empty." "That's because revenge doesn't heal," Cyrus said quietly. "It just balances the scales." My phone lit up with another notification. "Harding Tech CEO steps down amid federal investigation." "Ready to finish this?" Alea asked, returning with fresh coffee. I touched my grandmother's bracelet one last time, remembering her strength, her wisdom, her warning about men who try to make you feel small. "Yes," I said, straightening my shoulders. "Let's end this story." We walked back into the mediation room, where Peter waited with a new stack of documents and a defeated expression. Simon was notably absent. "Now," I sat down, opening my laptop, "let's discuss the real numbers. And this time, let's not pretend I don't understand them." The mediator nodded, and the final chapter of my marriage began to close. "The movers can handle the rest," I told Alea, watching the last of my personal belongings being loaded into the truck. Our perfect suburban house looked hollow now, stripped of the pretense that had filled it for years. My phone buzzed. Another news alert. Harding Tech files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. CEO faces federal charges. Have you seen this? Alea showed me her phone. Poppy's latest Instagram post. Sometimes the people we trust the most hurt us the deepest. Time for a fresh start. Frick healing, Saxelborg betrayed. Ironic, I muttered, deleting the notification. The doorbell rang. Evelyn stood there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Can we talk? She asked quietly. I led her to the kitchen, the only room still fully furnished. Simon had always insisted on hosting dinner parties here, showing off his perfect domestic life. I owe you an apology, Evelyn said, placing her hands flat on the marble countertop. I pushed you to keep this marriage together, to be more understanding, more supportive. I was wrong. Mom. No, let me finish. She pulled out a folder. We met with the FBI yesterday. The things Simon did. The money he took from us, from you, from everyone. I didn't want to believe it. My phone lit up with a text from Max. Dad's pressing charges. Simon's looking at serious time. You okay? I'm selling my house, Evelyn continued. Your father and we need to start over. But first, I needed to tell you how proud I am. Of your strength, your intelligence, everything you built while we were all too blind to see it. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Poppy, mascara perfect despite her heartbroken social media posts. Can we talk? She asked, clutching her designer handbag. No, I replied simply, closing the door. She's got nerve, Evelyn muttered. My phone rang. Cyrus. The IRS just froze Simon's personal accounts. All of them, including the hidden ones in the Caymans. Good, I said, watching another moving box leave the house. Send everything to the investigators. Alea returned from directing the movers. Your new place is ready. The security system's active, and I've got the restraining order in place, just in case. Restraining order? Evelyn looked alarmed. Precautionary, I assured her. Simon's been unstable since the mediation. As if on cue, my phone displayed an email from Simon. You think you've won? I've named you as the primary disruptor in my lawsuit. You'll lose everything. I showed it to Alea, who laughed. He really doesn't get it, does he? He has nothing left to sue with. The last moving truck pulled away. I walked through the empty house one final time, remembering all the small deaths of self I'd endured here. The dinner parties where Simon had showcased me like a prize. The nights I'd worked secretly on international calls while he was with Poppy. The morning I'd found proof of his theft from my grandmother's account. Ready? Alea asked softly. Almost. I touched the kitchen wall where we'd marked height measurements during my pregnancy scare, the same week Simon had been in Bali with Poppy. I'd lost more than a baby that week. I'd lost the last of my illusions. My phone chimed with a message from my Tokyo client. Expansion plans approved. Contract attached. Looking forward to working with you directly now. Sam! Evelyn called from the front door. There's something else you should know. I stayed too long in my own marriage. Watched your father make the same controlling mistakes Simon made. I pushed you to endure because I thought that's what strong women did. I was wrong. I hugged her, smelling the familiar perfume she'd worn my entire life. We all learn eventually, Mom. Ms. Mills? A courier stood at the door. Document delivery requiring signature. The envelope contained Simon's bankruptcy filing. He'd listed me as a creditor, claiming I'd maliciously damaged his business reputation. Keep it for evidence, Alea advised. His desperation is showing. I took one last look at the house Simon had chosen, where I'd played the role he'd written for me while secretly writing my own story. The movers will deliver everything to your new place tomorrow, Alea said. Tonight, you're staying with me. Wine, takeout, and no men allowed. My phone lit up one final time, an email from Simon's corporate board. seeking testimony regarding fraudulent activities between 2019-2023, willing to offer immunity. Forward it to the legal team, I told Alea. I'm done looking backward. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the car window. I was still wearing my grandmother's bracelet, but everything else had changed. The invisible wife had vanished, replaced by someone stronger, someone who learned that the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served with receipts. Ready for your new life? Alea asked. I deleted Simon's number from my phone. More than ready. The Portuguese sun warmed my face as I reviewed applications for my women's entrepreneurship program on my villa's terrace. My phone buzzed. Alea's familiar FaceTime ring. Have you seen the news? She asked without preamble. Simon took a plea deal. How long? I sipped my coffee, watching fishing boats dot the horizon. 5 years, plus restitution to all his victims, including your parents. My laptop chimed with a new email. Simon's name in my inbox still made my stomach clench. Even now. Sam, I'm writing this before they take me in. I've had time to think about everything. About how I tried to make you small so I could feel big. About how I never saw you building your empire right under my nose. You were always smarter than me. I just couldn't handle that truth. I'm sorry. For everything. Simon. Delete it? Alea asked, watching my face. Already done. I turned back to the applications. How many women are we helping escape marriages like mine this quarter? 32 enrolled in the program. Your Tokyo investors doubled the funding after seeing the success rates. My doorbell rang. Evelyn stood there, looking tanned and relaxed. Retirement suited her, even if it had come through unexpected circumstances. Surprise! She hugged me. I was in Barcelona for that cooking course you recommended. Thought I'd pop over. Perfect timing, I smiled. I'm reviewing candidates for the foundation. The one that helps women rebuild after divorce? She settled into a chair. Your grandmother would have loved that. I touched my bracelet, still my daily reminder of strength. She helped me see my worth when I couldn't. Now I get to do that for others. My phone lit up with a text from Max. Dad's finally signing over his share of the family business to me. Said it's time to make things right. Speaking of right, Evelyn pulled out her tablet. Look what Poppy's doing now. The Instagram post showed Poppy at a women's business seminar, one of mine, though she didn't know that. The caption read, Learning to stand on my own feet. No more depending on men who only see me as arm candy. Ironic, I mused, but progress is progress. Alia's face reappeared on my phone. The Tokyo merger is trending on LinkedIn. They're calling you the Silent Phoenix, the woman who built an empire in the shadows of her husband's collapse. I prefer just Sam, I said, closing my laptop. The woman who learned her worth wasn't measured by her husband's opinion. Mom's here for the board meeting? Alea asked. Evelyn nodded. Wouldn't miss it. First quarterly review of the foundation's impact. My phone buzzed with another message. Cyrus. Investment group expansion approved. Opening 3 new chapters across Europe. You're changing lives, Sam. No, I typed back. We're helping women change their own lives. A notification popped up. Simon's company building was being converted into a women's business incubator. The poetic justice made me smile. You never answered his apology, Evelyn noted, reading over my shoulder. Some apologies come too late, I replied. Besides, I'm not interested in his words anymore. I'm interested in his victims' futures. My laptop chimed again. Another application for the foundation. A woman describing her husband's financial abuse, her secret savings, her dreams of independence. Take her, Evelyn said softly. She reminds me of you. No, I corrected, already typing an acceptance email. She reminds me of who I became when I stopped being afraid. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across my terrace as I prepared for the board meeting. Women from 3 continents would be calling in, each running a chapter of what began as my quiet revenge and grew into a movement. Ready? Alea asked through the phone. I looked around my villa, bought with the first Tokyo contract, filled with art I chose, decorated in colors Simon would have hated. My grandmother's bracelet caught the light as I opened the video conference. Faces filled my screen. Women who'd escaped, women who'd rebuilt, women who now helped others do the same. None of them knew about Simon, about my story. They just knew me as Sam, the founder who understood their journey. Welcome, everyone, I began. Let's talk about how we're going to help more women write their own endings. My phone lit up one last time, a news alert about Simon's sentencing. I dismissed it without reading. His story wasn't mine anymore. Mine was just beginning, and it had nothing to do with revenge. It had everything to do with women who were done being invisible. Now, I smiled at the faces on my screen. Who's ready to change some lives? The answers came in many languages, but they all meant the same thing. We were done being small.